Yes.
Oompa,
Sorry.
loompa, doopa dee doo.
Hey everyone, it's your favorite Kevin with Goats and Cookies for episode 5. Today I have with me my co-host Lou and our special guest Rickus. And
Emphasis on show. Special.
before we hop in with the episode, I'd like to start out with our book of the week. Zach couldn't make it with us this week, so I'm going to take responsibility for it. And I have with me the United States Marine Corps and the World War. It's by Major Edwin N. McClellan. And this is one of the earliest deep dives into what Marines actually did during World War One. And it was written by a Marine, obviously, who helped build the Marine Corps' historical archives. McClellan, he in this book, he walks you through the battles, the chaos, and behind the scenes growing pains as the Corps stepped onto the world stage for the first time. And inside, it's a mix of firsthand detail and a big picture context that really shows how the Marine Corps started becoming the modern force we know it as today. If you're into military history, Marine Corps culture, or you just want to understand where a lot of today's traditions come from, it's absolutely worth the read. And if you look, about half of the book is photos, and which is great for Marines, and they're black and white. So if you didn't need all your crayons, you can fill them in. Um, if you want more information, just ask for it down in the comments. I'm happy to share the ISBN and everything. So with that, I'm just going to kind of go jump straight into our episode. Today's topic is pretty serious. It's military resilience versus mental health, and it's a topic that's near and dear to me. And I know my co-host and my guest as well, or our guest as well. We all have lived through hardship and we have all had a lot of mental health issues, or I can speak for myself. I know I have since leaving the Marine Corps, and it's a struggle for a lot of people. So we felt, we discussed it. We felt like this was a good topic to cover, and that's where we're at. So I'm going to start out with the first questions for Rick. When you look at everything service members deal with, how do you think about resilience now compared to how you understood it during your time as a corpsman?
Um, well, first off, greetings, salutations, everyone. I would say that for me, it it really depends on how you define resilience. Back when I was a corpsman, I understood it mostly as the ability to stay focused in chaos. Like resilience meant locking into a process. DCAP, BTLS. My other corpsman healthcare people understand it, like the step by step you lock into it, and like letting that focus drown out everything else. It was about holding steady so I could kind of do my job. And over time, especially moving into civilian medicine and then into fatherhood, that definition itself has matured. um I would say it now. I see resilience as more than just like enduring or bouncing back. It's growing through adversity. It's understanding that getting from point A to point B might be long or incredibly uncomfortable, right? But you still have to take those first steps and stay committed to the process. And today, resilience for me is tied to purpose. I want to build a world where my kids and future grandkids can thrive and be happy. A world where like one where we didn't grow up in, right? Where there was, cigarette vending machines and shit like that.
In the Waffle House.
Yeah, exactly. I want that for everybody else's kids too. That sense of direction keeps me personally moving, no matter what's happening around me politically.
Hmm. Well, how about you, Lou? What would you say? How would you compare the level of resilience that you understood as a Marine when you were active duty compared to now? Like, how would you balance that out, and maybe did you make that transition?
Yeah, for me personally, getting out of the Marine Corps in 2007, more specifically coming home from Iraq in late 2005, there was some emphasis kind of put on mental health, coming home, but I mean, you know, the Marine Corps I know has gotten a lot better on it, but back then I do specifically remember them just being like, does anyone need to talk to the psych? and talking to the psych men that you had to slow up, your time home with family, coming straight. So that's the first thing you wanted to do. Excuse me. And I remember um, thinking I should probably do something like that, but I didn't want to be the one to stand up and say, "Yeah, I need to, talk to the psych or whatever." Especially being the combat correspondent there, they might be like, "You?" Uh,
Yeah.
even though, I was sitting there right with them. I'm like, "Yeah, I was there with you." But anyways, I think the idea of resilience in the Marine Corps go hand in hand, right? Overcome, improvise, adapt, and overcome. Push through anything, push through your problems, push through, all of life's obstacles. Sometimes it's just not that easy, man, and you do need some help. And at that time, in the not just in the Marine Corps, but in the military in general, I don't think there really was much emphasis on that because it really was just tough it out.
Yeah.
You're you're just like the rest of us. We all got problems, sort of thing. Uh, just because you feel a little sad, and that's probably something we can talk about later, the difference between depression and sadness. But yeah, for me, the Marines are the some of the most resilient people that I've ever met. I know that with unaliving oneself, um, there are some stigmas with that as a form of weakness. But you got to think a lot of times people that have been pushed to that point, they've they've pushed through. They've been resilient before they got to that point.
Mm.
I don't think many people go straight from like, oh, I saw that to like, oh, I want to do that. It takes time and a bunch of circumstances that come together for something like that. But I don't want to go into that. But anyways, I am glad that mental health is being taken a lot more seriously nowadays.
Yeah, I
I
think
actually kind of want to build on that if you don't mind.
no, go for it.
Um, Actually, as corpsmen, we are told like when you are with Marines, you are their you're not just their medical provider, you're more. You're like their counselor, you're what they want in their leadership, but they cannot be. So that we were told actively to repress a lot of our own emotions and learn how to bury them so that we could look and be strong for our Marines. And so I know a lot of corpsmen out there who to this day refuse to speak about their problems because they hold that on their shoulders. And it has been tremendously problematic for all of them.
Just in my own experience, I'll say it. I when I retired, I was at Wounded Warrior Battalion for about a year and a half, and it's an interesting place to be because we are all taught to suck it up and man up and all this other crap, and pull yourself up and just keep trucking. Um, the Wounded Warrior Battalion was the first. Also, speaking to mental health was like that's a career ender. That's what we were
Yeah.
always told.
Jeez,
We
yeah.
were actually deterred from going to mental health. They told us as soon as you go to mental health, you're not deploying anymore. You can't have a weapon. Blah blah. Blah. They're just gonna ruin you. So they tried to keep us away from mental health.
They
Um,
treated it like a wink and a grin with you guys.
yeah, it was strange. But once I got to Wounded Warriors, a lot of us were wounded and we were being transitioned out of the Marine Corps, and they didn't want to say that kind of crap to us, which they did say that in so many words. A lot of the staff, not the patients, but the staff, they were a lot of them were reactive or activated reservists. So most of them hadn't really done anything, and they came and had this big power trip because they had a bunch of wounded Marines under them, and that's another fucked
That's
up
why I
story.
liked working there, honestly. I enjoyed working with the Marines then too, because I felt like they had a corpsman to go to even in their
Mm.
last moments out of the Corps. They could come to me and be like, yeah, I can talk about, blood and dicks and stuff, and we'll laugh together.
Well, that was the first time at Wounded Warriors that I was told the phrase, "It's okay to not be okay." And I don't know if they were just telling us that to make the transition easier or if that the Marine Corps' attitude was actually changing to that. But it kind of made me a little happier because and not happy, that's the wrong word, but it was good to hear because of how many friends I'd already lost to, unaliving. I hate saying that. Um,
It's a
just
weird word.
yeah, taking their own lives, ruining their own lives, whether it was financially or with their marriage. I've seen it happen time and time again. So when they told us it's okay to not be okay, it made me all right going to mental health as well as all of the other treatments that I had to do because they have to treat you for your injuries before they can retire you out. And it was a really strange shift, but I feel it was a necessary shift. Further than that, before I went to Wounded Warriors, they put me at a unit um, where I was talking to it was a base unit and they were non-deployable. I was there TAD for I think a week and a half while I was transferring to Wounded Warriors, and those people like man you wouldn't think that you would think okay these guys are base units, they're not deploying, they're not gonna have these kind of issues, but dude, just imagine being a Marine and not being able to deploy, watching all of your friends going off. A lot of them were married to other Marines, and their significant other was in Afghanistan or in Iraq, and they're living that too, they're living
And
that
that's
pain.
hard.
Yeah,
That's tough.
it was shitty for them. And again, because it was a base unit, I think we all know about base units. They're so strict. Um again with the power trips, man. Like I'd never
Yeah.
experienced anything like this one staff sergeant I had there who was like I mean, he did not let us use our ranks whatsoever. If you were below him, you were trash, and he treated us all as such. Staff Sergeant Alcarez. Fuck you, man. Um, you know, I just
Fuck you, man.
yeah, screw that guy. So let's just move on. Those are great answers. I really appreciate you guys kind of opening up about it. This one's for Lou. As a communication specialist, do you feel like the media tends to highlight the heroic side of resilience while kind of glossing over the mental health side of the service, the things that affect us the most?
So yes and no and yes. Like, and that
Yes and
seems like
no
a
and no
cop-out
and
answer.
yes.
However, the media is going to tell the most compelling story.
Hmm.
And so what are some of the things? What are some easy concepts, right, that everybody across the board can understand, right?
Tacos
Heroes.
are good.
What was that?
Tacos are good.
Tacos are good too. So a
Oh, I
hero
thought
flying into Taco Bell.
we're doing
There you go.
general rules. Everyone loves a taco.
We just wrote yourself. We just wrote Taco Bell their next commercial. So some funding on that will make it happen.
Sponsor
Um,
us.
just Marines storming Taco Bell.
Hell
Uh,
yes. I'll give you a Baja Blast.
Corman in the back. Take your Tums.
That's why Hexeth was
You're
invading
gonna have
Mexico recently.
heartburn.
Yeah, old Hexeth, he was beating us to the punch.
But
What a
no,
prick,
so
that guy. Anyways, go on. I'm sorry.
so yeah, the heroic side of things, I think, yeah, of course, everyone loves a hero story. And do they cycle back with the mental health parts of it? Most times not. I mean, if they have enough time and that part of the story is also interesting. So, for instance, this Marine, was a hero, saved some lives or whatever, comes home and, beats up somebody at a 7-Eleven for looking at him the wrong way. That's an interesting turn, right? And so they're going to cover that part of it and you'd probably tie it back to his service,
Mm.
his or her service. And so yeah, but I think overall, yeah, people want to hear the hero stories. They want to see the resilient, wounded warrior stand up and walk for the first time, you know, after X amount of years or whatever the case may be. They don't want to hear all the bad stuff, Maybe occasionally during, you know, I could just say it, Suicide Awareness Month, you know, they might run a story about, the importance. They might do the 22 push-up challenge, you know, anything that's trendy or something that's sticking out that's going to get hits and clicks, man. That's
Mm,
all it is. And unfortunately, do think still to this day, mental health takes a back seat to, um, wanting those impenetrable heroes that have no weaknesses. So I think that's where we're at. That's hopefully not, I think with society moving more into a take your mental health days, take time, including the military, take your time out, you know, go talk to your chaplains, things like that.
yeah.
Um, I think eventually we'll start seeing the media kind of go the way that society goes, right? Because that's typically the way it goes, right? They're going to feed us what we want to be fed. Um, so it's on us. It's on all of us to make sure that we continue to push forward the positive mental health and taking care of your mental health, um, not agenda, but movement, right? And not
Mm.
make it not a movement, but make it actually more of like, hey, it's just what we do, right? We take care of each other's mentals, and make sure that we're all right. I always, I did the 22 push-up challenge and everything too. And a friend of mine said, hey, after the 22 push-up challenge, why don't you call one of your boys? You know, how about that? 22 push-ups. Go ahead, do your 22 push-ups and call somebody, call somebody that, not necessarily is in a bad way, but just let them know that you're thinking about them.
Yeah.
Because
That's
sometimes
powerful.
just
It goes
that
a
call
long
can,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
that call can lift you up. I mean, I've been in tears before talking to some of my friends from the Marines because I hadn't talked to them in a long time, and it just lifts your spirit up. And I think we've all had that experience before and how powerful it can be. Not saying it can solve everything, but it's a step in the right direction.
It'll change your day for sure. I do that. I make sure to text people if I'm thinking about them, I won't even say that. I won't even give the disclaimer no homo because I really love you guys. But I'll send it out and I'll say like, hey, just thinking about you, period. Nothing else. Just thinking about you. Hope you're doing all right. And sometimes I get an answer back from people, sometimes I don't. Sometimes they leave me on red. Whatever, they saw it and I'm sure it had the effect that I wanted. I wanted to touch on something you said a moment ago about everyone wants to see the wounded warriors standing up and walking for the first time in 3 months. I think if it were to be covered by any sort of media source, they would just be completely blown away at the staggering statistics of how many people are admin sept, who get dishonorable discharges, who get just punted out and just lose their entire retirement because of drug abuse at the Wounded Warrior Battalion. I knew several people who lost their. One guy. I'm not going to say his name and out him, but he was in an MRAP up in the turret, and he had a 240 golf, and they ran over a triple stack of Italian mines, one stacked on top of the other,
Damn.
and it blew the machine gun off of the mount and into his face. Like you remember the 240 buttstock had that big ring at the top of it for the sling, and that ring went in his eye, so he lost his what? He didn't lose his eye, he lost sight in his eye, and it crushed his face in. And so he had all kinds of surgeries and everything. But the dude smoked some weed one time when he was on leave, and he lost. I mean, he didn't retire. He didn't retire. He got an other than honorable, and he had to petition later to get it turned to an honorable discharge. This man lost his face. He lost his sight in his eye. He he hopefully is doing a little bit better mentally now. But when I knew him, he was not there, all the
I'd be
time.
angry.
He was
Can
he
I
was
can I
spaced
ask you a
out
que-
and jaded.
can I
Yeah.
ask
Oh
you a
yeah.
question about this person?
Hmm.
Uh, were they also on um, government prescribed medication that you would consider harder drugs than
Yes.
marijuana?
We all were. All of us.
So that's okay.
I was on
Dude, I
nine
remember in Wounded
medications at
Warrior,
Wounded
you guys
Warrior.
were playing, not you, but the Marines. Because y'all were separated, especially like in Balboa, you guys like had the Marines and then like the Army and like
Yeah.
you know how the floors were separated by
Hmm.
branch. And I don't know how many times we caught y'all fucking Marines. playing Percocet poker.
Yeah. We would
Like,
go, so we had what we called the Alpha Company like mating call or whatever. But whenever we'd see each other, we'd grab our trousers and just start shaking our cargo pocket. And you just hear the pill bottles rattle and we go, Alpha Company, and you just hear chick, 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 chick. But we would go, we had to all go, a certain amount of us had to go to a financial aid class one time. And I mean, there were 25 of us or 20 of us maybe, broke dicks, all of us just out there still. We'd all just got back from combat and etc. And I remember we all went out on the smoke deck during a break, and it's not just us there. There's like a certain number of people from all kinds of units. And I remember we were all standing around just trading pills. Like, oh, I got some Valium. Can I get an Ativan? Like give me that.
I'll be right back. Two
Okay.
seconds.
And we were just swapping pills like crazy. And I remember looking over and I saw this group of PFCs, these boots out there. They were smoking their cigarettes, kind of like looking at us and looking at the ground and looking at us and looking at the ground. And they were horrified at what they were seeing. And I said, "It's okay. We're wounded warriors."
Okay.
And bro, phew, it was something. They did not know what to fucking think of us. And looking back on it, I don't know what to think of us. It was
Well,
it was
you're a
truly a
I
product of
fun
the
still don't know what to think
situation.
of us.
You're a product of the situation
yeah,
and of the moment and of the time, right? I mean,
yeah.
the ridiculous, just like when we're in Iraq and kind of making fun of the situation, right? The ridiculousness of it,
Yeah.
of
Well, we were
like,
making Halliburton and KBR and Raytheon money there, and then we were making all the pharmaceutical companies money at Wounded Warrior Battalion. It's no different, dude. They would put me on a med. I would say, hey, this is having adverse side effects. I'm getting like whatever. And they would put me on another med to counter that, and then another med to counter the ones from that,
you
and
ever,
then
you ever
another, I
see
mean, 9
y'all ever,
medications.
not to plug the movie, you ever see Idiocracy?
Oh yeah.
That's kind of like where he's like, this one goes in your mouth, this one goes in your butt.
Wait, I think I got
This
that backwards.
wait, no, and like after he puts it in his butt, he's like, and then he jumbles it up and he's
That's
like
Wounded
trying to
Warriors.
follow it.
That
That's
is
like,
a
yeah,
that was
that
my
didn't work. Here, take
experience.
this butt pill, or whatever
That's
it
actually a
might
funny
be.
joke when we had new EMTs coming through. We would ask them, we would have those little thermometers with the red and the blue, and we'd be like, "You know how to tell the difference between the rectal and oral?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, the colors." And you're like, "No, the taste."
All right, moving on. I got talking about butt thermometers and stuff. So Rick, this question's for you.
Number five.
Back when you were treating Marines, what were some of the mental health challenges you saw that most people on the outside of the military sphere would never have heard about, or still probably haven't heard about?
Ooh, one of my biggest issues I saw was that toxic masculinity. I think you were touching on a little
Mhm.
earlier and how it affects young men. Like a lot of Marines struggle to communicate what they were feeling or even like seek basic medical care or the mental health care that you were talking about before, just because they were terrified of looking weak.
Yeah.
That depression, identity issues, fear of vulnerability, that none of this was rare in a United States Marine Corps that's built off of just Joe Schmo off the street. And honestly, many of those problems didn't start in the Marines. A lot of those, enlisted already carried those burdens, hoping the military would just fix them. But the larger issue is that our society doesn't really embrace mental health care for men in general. And the military environment can really double down on that. Um, Once you combine that with multiple combat tours, deployments, you mean trauma of like what you were saying, just being away from your family, it
And
stacks
then
fast, and those experiences can really twist the emotional development of young men before they've really had a chance to
yeah,
learn what a healthy adulthood or real joy actually looks like to
mm,
be a young man. you know
Jody didn't help at all either.
Fuck that guy, bro.
Dude, he got us all. He
All
got
of us,
he got
every
all of
single
us.
one of us.
If you
He's going to
stayed
continue to get you too.
if you stayed single in the military, I fucking hate you. You'll never know.
You
You'll
don't
never
know what
know.
broken heart is.
Dude, how many times have you guys been in the phone center in Iraq or Kuwait or wherever? And Afghanistan, and you hear some guy 3 phones down screaming at, why'd you fucking like, I can't believe you did this to me.
It's so
I'm gonna
sad
fucking
though,
die. I
dude.
hope
It
I
is so
die.
sad.
And yeah, the things that those guys say, it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Did I sound like that when Jody was messing?
But
It's a terrible experience. So
ladies, don't do your Marines wrong. Come on,
God.
man. Or
So,
corpsmen.
the same question for you, Lou. Like, what do you think some of the mental health issues that happen with us that no one outside of the military ever hears of?
God, dude. I mean, it is unnatural, I think, despite, the idea that our nature is to kill each other. It's not natural to see some of the things that we did see, right?
Mm.
It is not natural to see someone's face completely blown off. It is not natural to see women and children dead on the street. It is not natural to see a lot of the things that unfortunately war brings to the visual experience of military members, right? And that imprint sticks with you. You may try to wash it away. You may succeed at it for a little while, but it's going to come back, and it's going to come back in some of the most unlikely places. I We go back to sort of the resilience things. I credit the Marine Corps and my experiences in Iraq for helping me push through a lot of life's struggles. So I don't want to like just shit on the Marine Corps in that sense of like that they're not providing that level of resilience, but there just comes a breaking point where resilience can take you but so far, and then you need a little bit extra, right?
Yeah.
And you just need a lot of times it's just guidance or even just somebody to talk to or somebody to that understands what you go through. I mean, I get it a lot of times. Um, Marines especially, but military members don't want to talk to some therapist that they think doesn't um, understand what they've been through. Um, and that's valid, right? I mean, you want to talk to somebody um, that you feel like can relate to you, but that is also a third party, not somebody that, you've got to necessarily see tomorrow. And like, because I've had those conversations, those sort of like venting, unspilling conversations with even people I work with, and it's kind of awkward the next day. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm all right. Like, it's okay.
We
Like,
talked
I'm
about
like,
this earlier because I recently did something similar. I told somebody some pretty dark shit from my past, and I've been in my head about it. Like, oh, are they
they
like
think I'm
avoiding me?
nuts. Yeah,
Are they worried? Are they going to distance themselves from me?
right.
So you're absolutely correct.
So, but I will say this on that aspect to kind of quell that idea um, is that I finally was pushed um, due to events in my life that have happened to go seek therapy from. I'm here in Virginia, so it was one of the Virginia Veterans Administrative Services offices provides free therapy, free counseling. Um, and the woman I talked to was completely professional, completely understanding, and put it out there on Front Street the moment the first session. I don't understand what it's like to be you. I don't understand what it's like to have gone through what you've gone through, but I'm here to listen to it, and I want to learn, and I want to understand. And I'm telling you, man, I was hesitant at first. I'm Irish, so the add that on there. We're not exactly the most also forthcoming people with our emotions, um, unless it's in poetry or some form of literature. Um, but it helped tremendously on every aspect of just me getting that out. And there were some things that I talked about that I didn't think were even bothering me, but I ended up in tears over.
Mm,
And I was just like, where the hell did that come from?
yeah.
But because, she's somebody I don't have to apologize to her, or I didn't feel the need to apologize to her for, hey, I'm sorry I felt real feelings in front of you. You know what I mean? Like we kind of feel like we have to, especially, um, we've all been there. You go out with your
Yeah.
boys one time, you maybe pop back a little too many and get a
He
little
said she
emotional.
loved me.
Next day, man, I'm sorry you had to see me like that, man. It's like, nah, man. But that's, but what do your boys always say? No, it's all right, man. I got you. Right? At least your true friends. Other
Yeah.
ones might be like, that's soft.
Yeah,
But
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. Not to keep rambling on
No, no,
about
no,
it,
you're
but
fine.
yeah, I mean, hopefully I've answered your question on that. Yeah, I think it's
Definitely.
anything and everything that we experience. And a lot of times you have Marines that will and service members in general that will discredit what they saw because they think somebody else saw more,
That's
right?
everybody.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I only saw one dead body. Well, how many dead bodies is too many dead bodies, right?
Yeah.
You
But
know?
trading cards, man, they're
Right.
Pokemans.
Yeah. Well, you're level, 158. I'm over here level like 10. And but it's not that way. I mean, dead body's a dead body. It fucking sears in your brain
Oh
and
yeah,
your nostrils and
that's a tattoo that
everything.
doesn't go away.
Yep. And what I've found too is a lot of like in Ricksfield too, medical professionals, they have to deal with dead people all the time. People dying on them, and hopefully
I
they're
lost count,
seeking.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean,
And it
we
sucks
need
too
to.
because when I went back to my my hometown when I got out of the military, a good portion of those were people that I went to school with because of
Right.
all the drug issues and stuff like that that poured through our county. So I left the military and that trauma and just jumped into a whole different pool of trauma when it came to that. So
Right.
nah, I'm all
You
Right,
right.
know,
and then on that sense, in a real thing, like so, I haven't seen as many dead people as you, but I'm sure if I came to you and like talked about an experience, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, suck it the fuck up, dude," like whatever,
Absolutely not.
And if you did, fuck off, I got to go the other way.
No.
But and I'm just saying that's how you should handle that situation if you come across somebody that doesn't, you know, give a fuck about your feelings.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
but yeah, I think that it's just something we've got to get over. It's sort of again that toxic masculinity, sort of one-upping shit that we do sometimes. Like oh, well, you saw, you know, one car of Iraqis get blown up. I've seen 17 in one day. And I'm like, all right, well, do you want to talk
stack of
about it?
cards,
Like
trauma cards.
that's always my question to them then too. Is like, all right, you want to talk about it, dude? Like,
Yeah.
'cause I
You
sure
should
as fuck
express
kind of do.
yourself, but
Like,
it seems like it's been bothering you.
right. It seems like yeah, if that's your initial reaction to my story, obviously, maybe we need to talk about going down that route. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it over and over again in this episode. Is seek that professional and mental care that is out there for you, especially if you're a veteran, but also if you're in medical field, whatever. I mean, whatever the case is, if you're having shit bothering you, you know, go seek out some help.
you know,
And I need to follow that a lot myself too.
yeah, I think we all do, man. We all dish out advice that we should all be taking ourselves. You mentioned just kind of break away for just one moment. You mentioned the vet center, and it is a valuable resource. California has one as well. And kind of funny story. I attended a group for a little bit, probably about 3 months last year. It was just a trauma group of all combat vets, and we all sat around and talked. And I think I was the youngest person there, and I'm 41. Like that tells you a little bit. But we had our therapist, and the guy, bless his heart, he did a decent job running the groups. But this one thing that I can never fucking get past is he said the word exacerbated a lot. And he would say, this will exacerbate your symptoms. This will exacerbate your symptoms.
You
But
just learned a new word and
no,
he's using it.
he did not. No,
I'm
no,
just
no. He never said exacerbate. He said exacerbate. And he would say it like somebody's talking about, like they're crying and they're talking about like, yeah, and then I did this and then this happened and now it's affecting my children and blah blah blah. And they're like, oh, not making fun of him, but they're like really powerful moment. And he's
Yeah.
just like, well, when you do that, it just exacerbates things. It's like, how do you not fucking crack up at this guy saying exacerbate? It was something. Anyway, my point was valid. The vet center is there. I think it's in most states, and it is free. You don't have to even tap into your VA or your TRICARE or anything to use it. And it's all, to my knowledge, it's all anonymous. Granted, a lot of the people you'll see for counseling might not be as qualified as you will get at the VA or several other medical facilities. They are good, and most of them, if not all of them, are veterans.
And if they're
Um,
not good, you can request somebody else.
yeah, because if you have a therapist that's not good for you, it'll just exacerbate things. All right, so this next question is for Lou. Do you think the culture around speaking up about struggles has changed, or do you think service members still feel pressure to kind of suck it up even after they get out?
I mean, I hope it has changed. I can't speak for people who are still in that are getting out. Um, I just know what it was in 2007 versus the things that I'm hearing now and the things that I'm hearing from Marine Corps leadership as I attend events and everything. That language has definitely changed into a more like sort of empathetic, sympathetic tone of like, we're here for you and everything like that. Now, what is the backlash? Is there backlash? Like
I've
you
heard
talk
that it
about,
affects force readiness and stuff. I've heard a lot of different opinions on it, but well, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I
well,
heard
there's a
it
lot
turns
of
you into a gag.
we, right. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that can affect force readiness, right? That are outside of mental health. But you know, um, I mean, I think sending somebody who's experiencing some mental health issues into an environment like that is more detrimental to the mission than addressing it, right? You send somebody out there that's having nightmares and seeing crazy shit, whatever the case may be, it's going to affect their performance, right? And that's going to affect the performance of the Marines around them. They're going to look at them like, oh man, this dude's crazy, like
Yeah.
might want to watch out for him, sort of thing. Um, and so I can't speak for has it gotten better, has it gotten worse? I think that it's gotten better from what can see as a third party now watching. Um, I just know that it was not very good when I got out. Um, and I hope that it has gotten better.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Rick, unless you have anything to say on that, I have a really solid question I'm going to throw at you next.
I actually think it has gotten better, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
I would hope it has, man.
I feel like, especially as opposed to when I first got in, as to when I got out, I feel like there had been a real shift as to how leadership, especially, was being trained on how to like handle that type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, you still have someone very close to you in life who is active duty, correct? So, I mean, I think you would know better as to what the current kind of attitude is, at least in the Navy.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Honestly, I think so. It's completely different when it comes to that because it's a squadron. So they live different rules than the rest of the Marines are different from the
Yeah,
Navy.
yeah.
You can basically go to work without your pants on in the Navy and they don't care.
Hmm. All right, so the next question is for Rick. Did you ever feel like the expectation to always man up kind of made it harder for people around you to admit they were having a tough time, even when they were trying to have like a private conversation with you?
Um, yeah, honestly, I think it absolutely made it harder. It was a double-edged sword though, because like on one hand, I really did understand why leaders tried to build this like warrior energy and around masculinity. And when you're the cog in that machine, it's not a pleasant experience. It's years of living with elevated cortisol levels and stress. So they like wrap it in hype and identity to kind of like make it feel meaningful. I like to liken it to football teams and, how coaches amp, their teams up. But when you tie like all of that to being a man, it gets toxic really fast. It teaches guys that like struggling is a failure of masculinity instead of just a normal human response to trauma. And like the funny thing is, it actually proves how artificial things like gender roles are. Because like if a social role were truly natural, would politicians, commanders, and religious leaders have to constantly remind boys to do as you say and man up?
Yeah.
I really do believe that we can motivate professional warfighters without clinging to this social framework that stopped being useful decades ago. When you tie someone's emotional life too tightly to gender, you make it harder for them to like question rigid binaries, and you make it harder for them to say, I'm not okay, just like
Yeah.
you were discussing, even in private with friends. So, yeah, that whole man up expectation didn't just make it harder, it trapped a lot of young men into traumatic silence.
And to interrupt for just 1 second, I think one of the key words you used here was boys. I enlisted at 17 years old. I went to Haiti at, 19. I had already deployed
We
by
were
then.
boys.
I went to
We were
Iraq at
kids, man.
20. I turned 20. I turned 18 in boot camp, 19 in Korea, 20 in Haiti, and 21 in Iraq. I was a kid. And if you think, oh, he grew up quick, it's like, yeah, in a lot of ways, I absolutely did. But in more ways, I was stunted. I was still a 17-year-old
Yeah.
when I retired. I stopped maturing in many ways because I wasn't in society. I was an
Yeah.
outlier and a beast, if you will. I mean, and I say that with a point of pride, but it's kind
Controlled
of true.
environment prison.
So please continue. I'm sorry to interrupt again.
No, no, you're good. You said everything that I would have followed that up with. Like I said, it's a controlled environment prison. It's like being locked away in an environment that is not the real world and then being dropped right back into it again. But at the
Mm.
same time, it's just that whole, I just think tying gender roles to any identity in that fashion to drive them to do something instead of to promote personal self growth, I think it's just toxic in and of itself, to be quite
Yeah.
honest with you. But I think instead of people being so little girls should be little girls and little boys, I why can't we just raise people to want to be happy? Why can't that be the goal, right?
It's
Because
because we need to
that's
maximize profits.
right. But what the greatest generation was also one of the happiest, right? Because they were secure, financially secure. They could be like, I'm gonna get 15 shekels for a 4 bedroom, 2 bath house in the suburbs, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they bought their houses at 21 years old for $3 and a fistful of blueberries or some shit like that.
That's
And
what I'm saying.
yeah, they didn't have credit scores until 1988, I think it was. They didn't. I mean,
My birth
the
year.
the
There was
population
my
has
generation is a guinea pig.
yeah, the population of Earth has doubled since the 80s. I don't think most people take that into account when they make fun of millennials and Gen Z and Gen X, or not Gen X, fuck them. But whenever they make fun of Gen Alpha, they don't realize that our population has almost tripled by the time that they're going to be
Yeah.
our age. It's ridiculous. Please
What
go
Yeah,
ahead.
there.
sucks is I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say if you ever want to counteract that, and you ever want to feel good about where your mental state is versus maybe those older generations, just go into an obviously AI generated contented video on any social media platform and go
God
into
bless
Hilarious.
our troops.
the comments and see. Yeah, there was one where it was as a supposed to be a female soldier and two male soldiers, and they were like, "God bless America," and like when you saw on the name tape, it was like the U.S. SAFRI.
You've never
Now,
heard of
I've
the
never
U.S.
heard of.
Stafford?
Special Armed Forces Reconnaissance Expedition.
They
I've
usually,
never
yeah, like
heard. I've heard of a lot of things, but SAFRI, that's a new one. And yeah, down below, it's like, God bless these men and women. Like, what?
Yeah.
No, 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 no. So first off, figure out that uh, and figure out how to use the remote on the TV. Am I on the internet? Um, and that writing a comment to Facebook, I do not give Facebook my permission.
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I don't do
hold
shit.
Mark Zuckerberg cannot do this legally.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
they're
but
something else, man. They really are. Yeah, we're gonna have another episode on generational differences and specifically within the military, but also regarding military worship and all kinds of other stuff. I've already started writing it, and I think that's gonna be a killer episode. I think we're also gonna make a lot of fucking enemies. But who cares? Because they can't really, I mean, they're gonna be like misspelling all kinds of hateful comments
If
and telling us that
if
they'll
there's
they'll
one
pray
thing
for
that
us.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Oh, that what that's about. So Rick and I,
Shoe Cran.
we we follow we follow this guy, or no, I'm sorry, this guy follows Rick on Facebook, and
I think
this
it's the hate watch or something. I have
yeah,
no
he
idea what
he
it is.
does. He every comment he says, he calls everyone babies and kids, and he says, "I'll pray for you." And then he accuses me of being a Democrat and a liberal over and over and over. And then I told him, like
Trump 2028.
bro, it came out that
You
I'm a
Muslim?
Marine. And he's like, "There's no way you're a Marine." And I was like, "I proved it." So I sent him some photos and stuff. And he's like, "Well, you must have got kicked out for being woke. That's why you're a failure." And it's like, you don't know fucking shit about me. Like, who says things like that? Like,
Dude, I would have I
I'm
told
just
you I
some
didn't
random
see any of that. I
asshole.
would have jumped into there and have been like, you
Uh, well,
bitch.
this was
But that's
within like
probably
the.
not a
Well, that's all I do is I mean, I
Possibly
cuss
a
this guy.
bot.
Oh no,
Possibly a
yeah, that's
bot.
what I keep saying because
I
it's
think
the same
so.
repetitive shit every single
I
time. I
think
think it's just
so.
a rage clickbait thing.
Yeah. Well, I think, he might be monetized. So the more I reply to him, the more money he gets. But I just take every
Shit.
opportunity to just slander this guy. And I'm pretty rough about it. I call him like a fucking weak-willed, weak-minded little bitch and all kinds of like all kinds of
And
stuff.
since to my viewers, since you understand how much I respect free speech, I let him say it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, just follow our nation's press secretary and just say
Oh
your
God.
mom. Period.
All of a sudden the FBI is kicking down your door. I got to be careful with the government, man. I got personal reasons that I got to kind of steer clear. But when it comes to old folks, I'll just let loose. Let's move on to our next question. This one is for Lou. From a communication specialist point of view, how do you see media coverage shaping the way civilians think about PTSD or mental health within the military community?
It's a good one. Gosh, I think it's more positive now, but again, it's what it everyone's consuming different uh media outlets now, right?
Hmm.
So, I think it depends on one, what you're talking about as far as mental health, and then two, who you're talking about as far as mental health, right? So some populations may be more sympathetic or empathetic to say veterans, right? And another population that's consuming other media might be more, I don't know, to some other population, whatever it might be. Uh, I think that the media is so targeted and so focused on their audience, um, that instead of kind of broadly generalizing, or not generalizing, but um, making mental health overall a statement of like, this is important for everybody. not just military veterans, not just, say the trans community or the gay community or the black community or the Hispanic community, whoever it might be. It's important for everybody to be able to access resources that can help them improve themselves, improve their lives, and not have things that happened to them in the past hold them back from their potential in the future.
Mm.
So that type of message, though, I don't think is getting broadcast by like the larger media. Um, I mean, I can't tell you the last time I've seen like a mental health type story,
Yeah.
unless it's somebody freaking the fuck out and doing something crazy, doing something
Yeah.
that is going to ruin their lives and the lives of their fellow citizens. And that's unfortunate that it's very much a reactive. They're reactive stories as opposed to proactive stories, right? Like we're going to report on the military veteran that loses his mind in Walmart and, you know, God forbid, shoot some people or whatever, we'll report on that. That'll be, big, big time story. But where are the, stories about the therapists that are helping veterans out, you know? Show more of those stories, and then maybe that guy that or gal that chose to do that, maybe they end up seeking out those services instead.
Yeah.
Run more
It's
of those stories, and then maybe we won't have as many of those other stories. But dude, the media in general is always going to give us what we want. And what do we want? We want, if it bleeds, it leads, right? That is
yeah.
not, it's a cliche, but it ain't a cliche for no reason.
Well, that's why we're making this episode right now. I mean, like I was saying earlier, profits push stories within the media, and this isn't a profitable story, but it is profitable to you and you and you and like
Yeah.
everyone that's watching this right now. If they've made it this far into our video, they're watching it for a reason.
Do you know what I
And
never hear like in any interview really? I never hear the reporter ask the person like, "How are you doing?"
mm,
Like or just like, "How are you, just how's it going? Like how are you mentally dealing with all of this?"
yeah,
Or dealing with whatever, situation. What advice would you give to somebody that has gone through something that, you've experienced? Maybe somebody, there's a military veteran that saw a ton of combat. How would you, what advice would you give to them? And if they don't have anything, then maybe it's like, okay, so maybe we should stop the tape, get this
yeah,
person, I
yeah.
don't know.
Talk about something else,
I don't know. It's it's such a
Yeah,
sensitive topic still,
yeah.
I think. But the more that we normalize talking about it, I think the easier it'll be for people um, to talk about it and express themselves as well.
That's the right answer. Thank you for that. So Rick, thinking back, were there any moments that really opened your eyes to the gap between the myth of the unbreakable service member and the reality of, humanity and us just being fallible creatures?
Honestly, that myth doesn't really survive long. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but the moment you get on the bus to boot camp, it kind of falls apart, right? You're
Mm.
sitting in the dark, surrounded by a bunch of strange kids, just from every corner of the country, and you're all equally terrified, just pretending you're not.
I wasn't.
And
No.
it's get out of here. That's the thing is like everybody was shitting their pants just as much as you are, and like
Rick, did you have
that
anybody
to
that?
me.
Oh, sorry, I
Go
didn't mean to
ahead.
cut you off. Did you have anybody that like actually audibly cried?
Yeah,
Our dudes
at
did.
least three people.
Our guys did a prayer circle, and I was sitting in the back. I just gotten out of military school, so I was like, "What the fuck are these guys doing?" But I was pretty nervous. I'll admit it. I was definitely, about to shit my pants.
Yeah, it was new, but the thing is like we were going to Illinois in Great Lakes,
Hmm.
so it wasn't. I didn't get pine trees like South Carolina or anything like that, you
No
know.
pine
So
trees, just sand fleas.
no, we got gray on top, gray on bottom, and like the trees were all sticks, and it was just depressing.
So I could totally understand why once the sun went down and we were on the bus there, it was like, oh, I made a mistake. I could see why so many of them made started crying. Yes, I can understand that. But like honestly though, that ride in and of itself, that's when you kind of realize that this unbreakable service member was never really real. But like throughout your military service beyond there, you actually get to see and live with and experience the real people that are behind the ranks in these uniforms and stuff. And like you hang out, you chill and watch football games, you drink, you just when you get the opportunity to just kind of look around you and realize that like that's what kind of makes this military special. It's actually why I hold the military in such a high regard here specifically because like I've watched it take timid, scared teenagers and shape them into leaders and war fighters. I've seen ordinary kids grow into professionals with real discipline and purpose. And it's never been lost on me how remarkable it is that we are so individually ordinary and yet together we all rose to meet challenges that I think mythologize mythologize us.
Mythologize, yeah.
I think those stories kind of create themselves.
Yeah, that's a very good answer.
Make
Lou, unless
Mythaster debated.
masturbated.
Oh yeah, exacerbated. Lake and Salam.
Oh my God, that's a terrible story. I hope that guy sees this and corrects himself because I never had the heart to actually say. I mean, it was always in such a serious moment. I couldn't just be like, "Bro, what the fuck are you trying to say right now? You sound like an idiot."
I think going back, I want to kind of dive in back to where Rick
Please.
was initially talking about too, with that boot camp moment too, dude. There is a collective sort of mental moment that happens when you're on that bus or you're on that van. I was on a van going down to. Never got the bus experience. I think Kev, you had the same experience coming from such only a few states away, or you were in that state, right?
Yeah, I was in South
Yeah.
Carolina.
Van?
We took a little
It
van.
was
Yeah,
like,
there were like 6 of us in there.
yeah. The drill sergeant just popped his head and was like, "Get out of my van. Get on the yellow footprints." I never got the "Get off my bus, get off my bus." Though I heard that other
Oh,
cats did, but
it's touching. It really is.
either way, I know you both had this moment, right? You're on this shuttle, to your this unknown or maybe known to a certain degree, but unknown environment, and everyone on that bus or van, they all come from all different backgrounds, walks of life, experience, parents that were divorced, parents that were married, happy families, sad families, fucked up families, whatever it might be, all experience that same moment together collectively, where literally once you realize that you're like 10, 20 minutes, it's dead fucking silence.
That's when the guys I was with prayed. They were like, "Will you guys pray with me?" And they all held
Yeah.
hands. And they went. They had
That's
like
when
I
I
was
heard the
I was lucky that I had my buddy Steven, man, who is awesome at breaking that sort of awkward moments. But we still had enough of it because it got quiet as shit, and Steven just goes, "Man, it got quiet as a bitch on here, man." They're
I'll be
just
right
like
back.
pointing out
2 seconds.
the obvious moment that we were having. But again, I think that moment is a real moment of sort of that collective mental thing that you can come from all different types of backgrounds and everything, but when you're put into a similar situation, a lot
Mhm.
of times we as just human beings will revert to maybe sort of a similar response. Um, and whether that's silence or all of a sudden you get chatty and talkative because you're nervous, whatever the case may be. Um, I think that shows that we do have a lot more sort of mental similarities than we want to say
Yeah.
based off of our different backgrounds. We want to say like, oh, well, I'm tougher than you and blah, 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 blah. Hey, that moment right there is like universally like, hey, buckle the fuck up. We're about to take a ride.
Yeah,
And
especially in the Marines.
when
That's when
everyone
we
gets
all,
quiet, yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
like, dude, how can everyone in here have that same moment, right? And so that's where again I just wanted to point that out as a way of saying that we are more alike than we are different,
yeah,
not in a kumbaya type of way, but in a way of just our mental
No, in a
capacity and
kumbaya way.
and how we react to things. And yeah, in a kumbaya way. If somebody had broken out the kumbaya, my lord,
well, I
I'm
say
sure.
especially Marines because that's when we all find out that we're all autistic crayon eaters right then and
Yeah.
there. Um, if
Let me tell you, nothing's quite like being accepted as a corpsman by Marines. Like legitimately,
mm,
when you're taken into that kind of brotherhood, that is like a when
Well,
you're
yeah,
called Doc for the first time, it changes your life, bro.
you FMF guys, man. When you're a part of the family, like
you're still here with us, man.
that shit's not to be taken lightly, Like
We
everybody
all
in the military,
hydrated together.
we're all step family. But no, docs are your brothers and sisters, man, for sure.
So, for our next question, Lou, this one's for you, but it's kind of for all three of us to answer. Do you think the military environment ends up normalizing stress so much that it becomes harder to recognize when it's affecting you later on, like after you get out of the military?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I
You,
think that it's some of my most stressful times. Once you get more life, I will say this for a 18, 19, 20-year old, 21-year-old, it's probably going to be some of the most stressful stuff that you've ever had going on in your life. However, as you get older and life, you know, be lifing,
yeah,
uh, you will find that there are a lot more stressful moments in life than anything you experience in the military. Um, and the military, and you will be thankful for your time in the military to have provided you those stress testers.
so you feel it was a
And
positive change.
for me, it was positive.
Hmm.
Um, Now, the way I handled things when I got out of the Marine Corps was not positive.
Yeah,
Um, and
same,
I
same, yeah.
and I found myself self-sabotaging constantly, and
Hmm. Hell, I
um,
still do sometimes.
and what I and there are probably a lot of military members that'll say this. We do well in high stress situations, but it's during a lot of those times of like low stress or maybe medium stress where what we dealt with during those high stress environments, if we didn't deal with that, right, they come out in certain ways, right?
Yeah.
Like I will flip the fuck out over spilling milk accidentally. But if
I
crazy
was actually
shit
just
is
about to
going on
start
around
talking
me,
about what you were just saying. Yeah.
yeah, if crazy shit is going on around me, I'm good to go. Like I kind of lock in and I'm laser focused, just like Rick was saying. So it's very much, I think it's a positive, but I just think that there are going to be hopefully better ways that we dealing with people's aftermath of those high stress situations
Yeah.
and getting people to calm down quickly, right, after a high stress situation. I mean, part of that is a part of, right, Marine Corps training when you're doing like combat rifle training, right, and you're running, they teach you how to calm your heart rate down really quickly after just running or sprinting for a quarter of a mile. I'm up, he sees me, I'm down type shit,
Yeah.
like um
We can't squad rush through life though, you know what
but
I
you
mean?
can't squad,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is you can't squad rush through life, and so there
Yeah.
has to be, um we need to be given better tools and better not better resources. We need to be made aware that the resources are available,
Yeah.
and to remove the stigma behind seeking those resources. That stigma is the biggest barrier to getting help and seeking help, I think, that any military member will ever encounter. It's not that it's not there for you. It's that you're weak if you seek it out, and we need to remove that shit
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's the complete opposite. You are strong for seeking it out. You are strong for admitting
Acknowledging it. Yeah.
admitting and acknowledging that you need help. I mean, there it is. So,
Yeah, my
uh,
2 cents on this, real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt this. I always talk to my therapist and or my therapists, and I always pointed out, PTSD, it works if you're in combat. You know, if hypervigilance and just being on edge, all that shit, it's conditioning for combat. But when we get back here, as I just said, you can't squad rush through life. And man, I fucking tried. It didn't stop me from trying, and I was self-sabotaging for quite some time. It's a rough experience having to transition out of that. I think the hardest part for me, kind of touching on what you were just saying, was, calming myself down. I can calm myself down very quickly. If I'm in a high stress situation, what's hard is acknowledging that I am and noticing that I am in a high stress situation where I need to calm myself down. By the time I'm, by the time I even notice, it's like it's either I've already blown the fuck up and done whatever I did, or it's just far too late and there's no way I can calm myself down. So sorry, continue, please.
right, and that goes back to the, giving service members the tools, right,
Mm,
to recognize when that's happening, recognize and then what to do in those situations to bring yourself back down to baseline at
yeah,
least, or somewhere closer to baseline than I'm through the roof, you know,
yeah,
uh, ready to snap on anybody that comes near me. Because I get it. I mean, we've all been in those high stress situations where, your pupils are dilated. You're basically just wired to the fucking,
Gotta
yeah.
chill. Sorry.
And it's
It's
tough.
cold here.
It's
mm,
tough to bring that down. And then once you get down, it's kind of hard to get back up, if that's the
yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah. It makes perfect sense. So Rick, since moving into a political commentary with your web series, which now you can shamelessly plug, and I kind of I want you to do it. Please throw it out there. How has your view on mental health in the military changed compared to what you saw while serving? And what is your perspective as someone who focuses on, what you focus on within your show, political occurrences and this everything going on with current affairs?
Hmm. Um, if anything, my view's been reinforced,
Hmm?
honestly. I know that sounds crazy, but the military showed me what can happen when resources and time and energy is put into something, right? You can build systems that actually work for large groups of people. So now, like working in political commentary, it's frustrating to see like how little appetite there is here in the civilian world for something that's basically just investing in that same level of care. And like Kevin, you remember Balboa, right? It
Yeah.
was I
A
wish
shit show.
every
Yeah.
yeah, it was a shit show, but it's funny how many like rural hospitals wish they could be that.
That's
You know what
true.
I mean?
That is true. Yeah.
Right? The worst and this wasn't really necessarily true during like when we were younger, especially what was the hospital? Was it Walter Reed
Yeah.
that had all
Walter
those
Reed.
like mold
That was the
problems?
scandal. Yeah.
Right. And then like after that, everything got like blown wide open. But that's the thing, right? That's democracy working with like a socialist system that worked, right? A bunch of people bitching about a problem that
You can't say
fucked
the
up
S
people.
word. Continue,
And
please.
so community programs worked to improve those situations. And I just feel like there are so many systems internally within the military itself that just inspire me more towards uh, uh, socialism. I know it sucks, but like mental health in the military when I was leaving, at least. And maybe we should get a newer member who could probably discuss this kind of thing a little bit better with us. When I was leaving, it actually seemed like our leadership gave a damn whether or not we sought medical or mental health treatment, right? And I think that's really good. And I think it's healthy. And I think it was really progressive of them. Um, but how many times does that happen in the civilian sector? In fact, let me go back to
I've gotten
just
fired for admitting that I had not even having a mental health episode, just saying, yeah, I've had mental health issues in the past, and I got fired
right.
for it. Yeah.
And as a corpsman, there's one thing that I try to beat through that wall of toughness that Marines have. It's this one message. You are your mind.
Hmm.
Your mind is your brain, and your brain is a part of your body, right? Sometimes it breaks. You got to fix it, right? You're not going to sit there and break your arm and just refuse to go to the hospital because it's gay or whatever. No, you're going to fix your arm because you want to go back to the gym. You want to get better. You want to improve. You want to be a better person. You want to pick up your kids. You want to be able to hold the steaks at the grill or whatever the hell. But that's the thing. We don't view mental health the same way we view other healthcare. But at the same time, we view healthcare in a very toxic capitalist way in this country to begin with.
Yeah.
So like there are certain things where like you could absolutely talk shit about Balboa the way it used to be. I remember when I was leaving and I was working for the Wounded Warrior program that was in there, we would actually set up times where some of the Marines and sailors and some of the soldiers from down whatever, they could all go on like a trip to the zoo, or they would all go on a trip skydiving or something. The focus of things like that, and this is like people with like severe mental health issues, the focus was trying to make them happy. And it's so crazy how few medications can bring out the emotion that those experiences themselves brought. And it's just like seeing that up close just kind of makes me realize these systems can work when they're publicly funded and universally accepted. And in a lot of ways, every military base is proof of that socialized infrastructure and how it can be like successful. And now that I'm in that commentary space, I feel like I have a responsibility and a unique vantage point to help people imagine what a better system could look like through that same model.
Mm.
If it can work for the military and the military's families, it can work for us. If we can demand better and then find that within the military industrial complex that we have built over the decades, we can certainly find it within this mass consumerism capitalist society that we chose to live in. We need to seek happiness a lot more than I think we give it credit for.
Yeah. And we need to credit it. Credit happiness for what it truly is a necessity. Lou, I saw you had something to say a moment ago.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
it's just
I kind of just tangent there.
No, it was
no,
your
no,
question.
no. It was
So
your,
yeah.
it was your question. Yeah. I just wanted to chime in about the, sort of that corporate PTO mentality and like the corporate adaptation or adopting of sort of military lingo, military culture in general,
Mhm.
military
It's weird.
hierarchy.
We're
It's
in a
fucking
bubble.
weird.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
first off, we're not boots on the fucking ground, ever in a corporation. We want to get boots on the ground on this. Do you have the bandwidth? Little things, little sayings and stuff like that. And
I'll
here's
spearhead this project.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, like if these corporations want to be more like the military, you will give leave without question. If somebody earns their leave, they can take it whenever they want.
Yeah.
2 hour lunches,
Yeah,
1 hour for PT, 1 hour for food.
there you go.
I'll say, I've heard a lot of people talk about their coworkers or colleagues as their family. And I say the same thing to all of them. Calling your coworkers or your employer or your just company that you work for family is like saying I love you to a prostitute.
Right. It's
What?
empty. It's
That
What
weird.
the
stripper
fuck are
really
you
likes
saying?
me.
Yeah, right.
I don't care
Oh
what you
yeah.
say. That stripper
You're
liked me.
you're a fucking number.
Yeah.
You were a dollar bill to them, and to ignore that is silly. You know that you have no stake in this company. You have no ownership in this company. You're just a number and a profit margin. That's it.
They want you to feel like it's family because they want you to sacrifice the way that
Yeah,
you will for your family.
yeah,
What
So
I
that's where
will
I'm
say
like,
is there's
no, we are
something we
not
can build
fucking
on that.
family. We are coworkers. I'm an employee of yours. I provide a service to you. I provide labor to you to help your company gain a profit.
I will say that if you are somebody who is willing to put that much time toward a company to make a profit for a very select few, let's face it, sorry, you should be treated like family when you go to work.
hmm,
I legitimately think that. I think if you go to work, you should be able to expect that there's going to be some kind of humanity that you can expect back.
yeah. Well, it's almost like the means of production should be in the hands of the working class, but I digress. Hey Rick, really quick,
You
please
mean
plug your
you mean
channel.
what are you meaning telling me that a share of revenue should be given to the people that produce it?
No, no,
What is this
that's
concept that you guys are talking
blasphemy.
about? I've never heard of
Oh
Sounds
man.
like communism
that.
and
I
socialism
what was it Ted Cruz said the
because they're
other
both
day?
the same.
Ted Cruz said that Mamdani's not a communist. He's worse. He's a Marxist. And it's like communism is based off of Marxist
What?
philosophy.
First off,
Marxism is a
first
philosophy
off,
and that's it.
hey, hang on, Kev. First off, if anyone ever wants to hear fucking Ted Cruz say something, just go watch the stand-up comedy of God. I can't remember the comedian's name right now, but there's a stand-up comedian that talks about an interaction that he had with him in his neighborhood because they're neighbors,
I don't think anyone
and
actually wants to
that
hear what Ted Cruz has to say.
I
you
think
won't
I've
after
heard this,
that.
and it's really funny. He
You won't
doesn't really
after that.
reveal who it is.
Yeah, we don't. But it's
He's
a
a very
very popular
uncomfortable person.
comedian. It's a very popular comedian. They do have a podcast. It may be in a cave. He's one of them.
Let me look him
So
up.
we'll just throw that out there. Yeah,
What were
if
you
you want
saying,
to.
Rick?
Oh, nothing. I'm
Okay.
good. I'm chilling. Just listening.
Um, Tom Segura. I saw him. Is that not him?
No, it is
No.
Tom Segura.
Yeah, I saw him in Santa Ana, I
Dude,
think it was.
He
that
talks about the craziest interaction that he's ever had with anybody, and it was Ted Cruz. He said, "This may not be a senator in Texas, a very popular senator in Texas."
In Cancun, you mean?
No, in their neighborhood because
No,
they both live
I'm just
in.
joking because he runs
Oh.
to Cancun every
he
time there's a
runs.
natural
Yeah,
disaster in Texas. That guy goes and takes a vacation to Cancun.
which must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice being that wealthy. All right, so this next question is for Lou. As a communications specialist, what role do you think media should play in shifting the conversation from glorifying resilience to acknowledging the real mental health challenges veterans face?
Well, one, I actually don't think they should shift the conversation from glorifying resilience, but just include the mental health aspect of whatever hero they're talking about.
That's fair.
Because if anything, that's also going to make your subject um, more relatable too, like give them, you know, not necessarily a kryptonite, but, show that, they're not just this impervious to pain being that has just done all this great stuff for the country, you know, to, humanize them a little bit, humanize the experience, recognize every time that there is a mental cost to everything that we give, you know?
Yeah.
Service members, there's Aaron Mankin said it best. He said a lot of people will say that he lost something in Iraq, that he lost, part of his ear, that he lost some of his digits. But what he said is that he gave those to the country. But I think the media needs to ask, so at what mentally, at what cost, Just to highlight that it's not a normal, it's not a normal thing that service members experience, right? It is abnormal and it is heroic in many sense, and in many senses of the word. But that heroicism is not like without some sort of mental cost.
Mm.
And I think highlighting that um, will kind of give it a full circle and 360 view into that person's life, but also into what we're doing as a country to our young men and women, uh, and to make sure that we don't unnecessarily put them in harm's way
Well
for the
said.
sake of a lot of things, for the sake of another country, for the sake of resources, for the sake of corporations, whatever the sake is, it needs to be for the betterment of the country, not for any one organization, any one person. Um, because you do have a lot of Americans that are willing to sacrifice and to give to this country, not just our bodies, but our minds as well. One mind, any weapon. And if those weapons aren't sound and sharpened, they're going to stab like a butter knife.
Mm.
I'll end with that.
Well said, man. Rick, do you have anything to add to that, as far as, what the focus should be on glorifying resilience versus, acknowledging mental health challenges? Or, I mean, Lou said it, he said it really well, so I don't have anything to add to it.
Yeah, he pretty much dropped it, but like it reminds me of the hero's journey, right? It's an aspect of a person growing into greatness that's not something that just kind of comes along with us. There's a humanism to all of that, right? There's like the glory of what you were just referencing is having that strong mental health, right? If you can intertwine your mental and your physical strength together appropriately, you are a resilient person by definition.
That kind of leads perfectly into the last question of the of this entire episode. And it's for you, Rick. It's if you could redefine what resilience means for service members, what would you change to make it more realistic and healthier?
You see, I firmly believe that resilience comes from the ability to withstand stresses because of your values, because of what you believe in, right? So you, I think a lot of young men, especially, aren't leaving into the world with any real set of real strong values, right? So integrity was something that they pushed in us in the military. What is integrity? It's doing the right thing when no one's around or when no one's
Mm.
listening, right? That's a really good quality. I don't know how often that is being treated as a value out in the civilian sector, right? So when you have something to work with, you have a reason to be resilient, right? So, like, that will in turn make a person healthier because they'll actually believe in what it is that they're being resilient for, what they're fighting for. I wouldn't redefine it. I would reestablish what it means and why it's so important and what it takes to build that kind of resilience in people, not just service members, but young men ahead of time, because that could go a long way in their journey alone.
Mm, absolutely. Lou, if you have anything to add to that, go for it. Otherwise, we can go ahead and wrap things up.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything Rick said, just nailed it right there.
Yeah,
I think that this is a tough topic, right?
yeah.
Um, Especially because veteran unaliving, let's just call it what it is. It's suicide.
We're
Is
not sponsored, so just saying that.
such a prevalent thing, right? And still to this day, and this is not anything new, right?
I think we've all lost someone to a veteran friend to suicide. Yeah.
Right.
Right. And it's happening even now during times of quote unquote non-conflict. And so, I mean, the last thing I said again, like I said earlier, if we're going to promote one mind, any weapon, we need to sharpen our military people's minds,
Yeah.
right? And what does that entail, right? What gives a person resilience? It's the ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome. It's the ability to recognize when they're getting overly emotional and to simmer it back down. It's when they're overstimulated and finding ways to bring that back down to a reasonable level, but then also having the ability to ramp it back up when needed, And I think that unit readiness will benefit from more mental health resources and not just resources, but breaking the stigma. Like these young people need to come into the military recognizing that you're not just a number. Like you're not just some you are, yes, you're an asset, you are a commodity to the military. But we care about you and we want to make sure that you are good up here because if you're not good up here, then we're not going to be good out there. And I think that emphasis needs to be across the board, needs to be promoted by our medias. I don't give a damn if we're talking Turning Point USA or Young Turks. It doesn't matter who the fuck it is. Like across the board, it needs to be emphasized that taking care of each other, but taking care of oneself up here is the most important thing for unit readiness and for our readiness as a country to improvise and adapt and overcome everything that's going to come our way. Because
Yeah.
we are
Agreed.
obviously, we're always going to be in uncertain times. That's just the nature of the world now. We are being fed
Semper Fi.
information. Simplify. We are being fed information at a rate that is unfathomable to other previous generations. And that information has to get processed somehow, right? In some way. And I think, again, just going back to having that sound, one weapon, one mind, any weapon. Sharpen the weapon, get better,
Just to
use that weapon.
reiterate, yeah, just
So,
to reiterate what we said earlier, like I see on Reddit a lot. I'm very active on Reddit. I've had doxed myself all over Reddit, so it's not hard to find me. Especially if you're active in the USMC subreddit. But I see everyone always talking about their big regret was not taking enough pictures of them and the boys, back in the day. Take lots of photos. That's the one thing they always
Oh my
pass on
God,
is
yeah.
take more photos of you and the boys. And I agree with that. I'm not going to argue with that whatsoever. But I will add to that, stay in contact with the boys.
Yeah.
It's not, when you say that to most people, they just assume it's like, oh, because you're checking up on them. You're checking up on
For
yourself
you
as
too.
well. Yeah, I mean it's 50-50. Like it takes two to tango, so to speak. Every time texting one of my guys, like one of my friends, and I say, "Hey, just thinking about you," like we were talking about earlier. I'm doing that for myself in a lot of ways too. It helps me feel like I'm a part of a family. It helps me remember that I'm not alone. It helps me as much as I hope it helps the people I'm texting. It's important to look out it's important for us to look out for each other. It's
Yeah.
important for us to look out for ourselves. And oh, go for it, man.
And one last thing to say, if we're going to promote once a Marine, always a Marine, then guess what? No Marine is ever alone.
Yeah,
You're not
absolutely.
alone. You are not alone. Reach
Yeah.
out to somebody.
There's no such thing as an alpha wolf.
Correct.
It's a
We're
pack.
all betas.
The
We're
bigger
all
the pack, the
beta cucks.
stronger.
I say, I see a lot of people on, again, with Reddit and a few other forums that I follow, and I'll see someone post every now and then, like, hey, I'm sitting here drunk eating fucking TV dinner by myself, and I hate myself, and life sucks and shit. Um,
Fuck all that. I like the TV dinners.
Whenever I see I always say the same thing, and I truly fucking mean it. It's like, hey, if you're near Camp Pendleton, hit me up. So if someone watching this right now, if you're near Camp Pendleton and you feel like you're alone, hit me up. I'm like, Camp Pendleton's 20 minutes down the road from me. I'll,
Similarly, I got your
yeah,
East Coast covered.
yeah.
So,
There you go. I mean,
drop a comment if you need something, drop us
yeah.
a message in DMs, whatever. Somebody will reach out to you.
Find me on Reddit
And
because
I
I.
anger too many people to give away my personal information.
I think that's
But you can always find Rick at the Wise Guys
the Y apostrophe S guys with a Z.
right there on his name.
Z. Z at the
A
end
Z for all you Euro
Rick,
people.
Rick, we
for
appreciate
Zorro.
you looking out for us as we start this podcast conversation, whatever you want to call it, man. We're glad that you're on board with us, and we're glad that your community is on board with us because we
Hmm.
are all again one community. So this is great, man. I've really enjoyed. I'm sorry that last time I had COVID and I wasn't able to be on here, but yeah,
It
COVID does
happens.
still exist. But
Yeah.
but I'm glad I was able to jump on this time, man, and it's been great to actually have a good
Likewise.
good
Yeah.
conversation with you, man.
Yeah, the rapport was fantastic, sir. Thank you.
Well, we're going to continue this off camera or off record for a couple minutes, and I hate to tell all you viewers that we're going to keep talking, but this is for the grown-ups now.
You're gonna have to pay us for more.
Yeah, this subscribe to our OnlyFans. But seriously, like, subscribe, follow us, follow the Wise Guys, and please, if you agree with anything that we said, if you feel strongly about anything that we said, just drop a line to any one of the three of us, including four of us, because Zach couldn't make it today. He's sick as well. I mean, he doesn't have COVID, but he's unwell at the moment. He regrets that he wasn't able to make it here with us today. But not just to reiterate what we were all saying, none of you are alone. Um, if you disagree with anything that any of us said, especially about the socialism, like, subscribe, come talk to me about it. I'm
Bring it.
I'm I'm
Bring it. I would
all
love to talk
ears.
about it.
You can join the
Bro,
come up on here, be a
I'm
bot,
a I'm a loudmouth motherfucker.
be a
Oh
bot.
Anyone
yeah.
anyone
I
who
should
sees me on
also
Facebook
I should
knows
also take this
that.
time to say we do not have an Old Bay sponsor, but that's what you're gonna get
We
with
don't
our
have
hats
a we
not
don't have
up
a U.S. Marine
there.
Corps sponsor either, but we are,
So,
the Marine Corps is made of people, and yeah,
but
Old
Old
Bay
Bay
is
does
made of
make a nice hat.
Old Bay is made of people.
All
Not
day.
literally, not literally. Oh man,
Well, there goes that sponsorship.
I, Lou, I love what you just said, and to wrap this up, I'd like to add a little bit to it. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse or say this shit ad nauseum. You're not alone. Hit us up. If you need a friend, if you're near Camp Pendleton, you just want to grab a coffee, we're here for you. Like, I love, I as much shit as I talk about certain Marines, I love the Marine Corps and I love most of the Marines I served with, and I have nothing but fond memories of them. I separated myself for a long time from it for the issue of this episode in specific. We all have our things that we go through, and we all battle our own demons. But I made the mistake of doing it alone for the most part, and I should not have. I regret it every fucking day. It would have saved me a lot of time and pain and a lot of hardship if I just acknowledged that I had a family there waiting for me, just all ears and big mouths. And that's what I needed, and that's what every one of you have. So, as I said, like, subscribe. If you don't like us, like and subscribe anyway. And you can also fuck yourself. But I'm willing to debate with you. And I will cuss a
Oh
lot.
yeah, throw it in the comments. Come
But
at me. We got the fire and spice.
as Lou said, Rick, thank you very much. This was an outstanding interview, and I think we covered some pretty hard topics that were hard for all of us to talk about, but I think we all recognize the importance of it. So,
Of course.
yeah, thanks.
And make sure you join us next
100%.
week. Next week, we're going to have Ken Melton on board, fellow combat correspondent. He's going to jump on and talk some good smack with us.
Yeah, we have a
Nice.
really good episode picked out for him as well. It's going to be imperialism, nationalism, patriotism. So brace yourselves, bring some fucking ass wipe with you because this is going to be a shit show. Because I think we're going to have some pretty conflicting opinions. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. And
Girl, can I add my conflicting opinion?
yeah, I mean, I'll always.
This is like my specialty on my show. You know that.
Yeah. But thank you guys very much, and that's a wrap. Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe.
Thank you.